All right. Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Paige Solomon. And I am the Associate Director of the Office of Undergraduate Research and Scholar Development. Really excited to be here today to talk to you about getting involved in research in engineering. And particularly, we're going to be talking about how to connect with faculty to help you make sure that you have a mentor who can guide you through all of the ins and outs of the research process. Today, I'm joined by my fabulous colleague, Alex. I'd love to have him introduce himself briefly.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex Johnson. I'm the coordinator of the office alongside Paige and our other colleague, Rochelle, who you'll see up on the screen in a minute. Really excited to be here and talk to all of you guys and help you find some ways you can get started in research and get some really cool experience.
Thanks, Alex. So we'll just get right into it, but just wanted to let you all know that we also have a really fabulous panel of faculty in two different disciplinary areas who are going to be talking to us a little bit later about things that they look for in undergraduate researchers and advice that they have for people who are interested in getting started in research in engineering. So that's going to be the highlight of the session. And then kind of on the bookends of that, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the things our office can help you do with research. And then at the end, Alex will talk specifically about one of our summer programs that we are really excited to hopefully have some of you participate in this summer. So without further ado, just wanted to give a quick highlight about our office and some of the great things that we offer. We do work with undergraduates, graduate students, and alumni from all across Carnegie Mellon. And so that means that even though you're a first year now, if you end up staying at Carnegie Mellon for a long time as a graduate student, or after you graduate, if you're interested in working with us, we are always here to support you. As an undergraduate, though, we do some really great things with research. So we often have one-on-one advising appointments where we really get to know you, get to know your interests and goals, and try to help you find opportunities that align with that specifically. There's so much out there and it's really overwhelming sometimes. And so that's what we really like to do during those one-on-one advising appointments is try to help you narrow it down and find some things that will actually help you pursue those interests. We also administer a lot of grants, fellowships, and apprenticeships to help give you some structure to your research endeavors. We'll talk about the specifics of some of those in a little bit. And then finally, we also oversee workshops and programming, such as our big Meeting of the Minds Undergraduate Research Symposium, which happens every May. And if you've never heard of Meeting of the Minds, you will this coming May. It is a really big, exciting opportunity where hundreds of students from all across campus just sort of take over the CUC and present their research and all of the things that they've been working so hard on throughout the year. And it's really exciting. There are, demonstrations, there's posters, there's talks, there's art installations, all kinds of things. So mark your calendars. That's going to be on May 1st. It's free to attend and free to present if you're already involved in research, and we'd love to have you there. Also, one quick thing, Alex and I, you already know, but our colleagues are fabulous. They couldn't make it this morning, but Rochelle is our director, Dr. Bernazzoli. She is a really fabulous person. And like Alex and I, she's also an advisor. So she might be one of the three people that you can meet with for one of those one-on-one advising appointments. And then last but certainly not least is Jen Wiedenhoff. She's our business administrator and operations coordinator, and she's the lady that, among many other things, handles the money. So if you ever get a grant from us, she's going to be that really important person to help make sure you get your money. So we love Jen for that reason and for many, many other reasons. So, in addition to all the cool research stuff that we do in our office, we actually also help students apply to a ton of different external scholarships and fellowships. And one of the things that is maybe a little confusing about this second part of our mission is that students often come to us asking if there are scholarships that specifically will help them support their Carnegie Mellon tuition. we have a couple, which actually some of which I'm going to highlight here, but instead of tuition, most of these actually fund exciting academic extracurricular type activities or additional professional development activities. So, for instance, some of these scholarships and fellowships will fund study abroad. Some of them will fund additional types of career development, and a lot of them actually fund research or graduate study. Again, as first years, I know it's quite a ways away to be thinking about graduate study, but we just want you to know that these opportunities exist. However, many of the ones on this slide are actually for first years or second years, so things to really be starting to think about. So, for instance, the Amgen Foundation is a really cool opportunity for you to go abroad in the summer or stay in the United States, but basically participate in biomedical research or biotechnology research with a paid position at prestigious institutions in the US or in Asia, or depending on your citizenship status, in a variety of other places across the world. So that's a really exciting opportunity. And then similarly, DOD, which is the German Academic Exchange Service that we have listed kind of directly under Amgen, that one is kind of a similar opportunity where you get to go abroad but study a variety of different things over the summer and conduct research in a lab in Germany. So those are two examples of some of those study abroad opportunities that are research related. And then we also have at the very bottom here two research related scholarships that are really exciting. So first on the right, we have the SMART scholarship that you can apply to anytime. It stands for Science, Mathematics, and Research for Transformation. But this is a great opportunity to actually fund your undergraduate tuition because they actually, they provide a full tuition waiver as well as a stipend for you. You can apply as an undergraduate or a graduate student, and they also come with research internships with the Department of Defense in the summers, which is potentially really, really great professional experience depending on what you'd like to go on to do after Carnegie Mellon. Then the Barry Goldwater Scholarship. Some of you might have heard of this one already. It's a really popular, really prestigious STEM research scholarship that you can apply for as a second year student or a third year student. Barry Goldwater Scholarship looks specifically at your research experiences. And so if you can't tell the theme here, part of the reason why we're highlighting these specific scholarships is because a lot of them are very research oriented. And these are actually things that, once you start building research experiences here at CMU, you'll be able to help yourself be a lot more competitive for. Barry Goldwater Scholarship does provide funding for your undergraduate studies as well. Not the full tuition, but a nice chunk to help you. And it's also, again, very prestigious. So people will look at your resume if you get that one and just say, wow, we definitely need to interview this person because they're a Goldwater Scholar. In addition, we have the Udall Foundation listed here, just really quick. That's one that you environmental and civil engineers might be interested in looking into because it's got a big focus on environmental studies. And that's a great one to apply to in your sophomore or junior years. Next to it, the Fulbright Commission. That's a really exciting opportunity to go abroad for the summer and study in the UK. I'll talk about that one a little bit more in a second. And then lastly, right above Fulbright Commission here, we have the NSF-GRFP, which stands for the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program. And so that's just one example of many of scholarships or fellowships that can support your future graduate studies if you're thinking about that. So I know that was a lot. This is not a cumulative list. We have so many scholarships and fellowships that we work with that you all could potentially be eligible for, and certainly that you can help make yourself be even more competitive for if you decide to start doing some research here at CMU. So know that those opportunities are out there and that we are really excited and eager to work with you on those applications. Again, we provide one-on-one fellowship support as well. So we'll help you work on those essays, help you revise them. Sometimes, depending on the scholarship, we'll even help do mock interviews to help really get you prepared, depending on what the requirements of the fellowship are. So we're kind of your one-stop shop for all things that as well. And to just dive in a little bit further about that Fulbright UK Summer Institute I mentioned, we wanted to give a shout out to Victoria. Some of you might know her, maybe not quite yet, though. She is a junior now, a mechanical engineering and biomedical engineering double major. And between her first and second years at CMU, she won the Fulbright Scholarship, which is, just a great experience. She got to go to Scotland and she participated in their Summer Institute on Technology, Innovation, and Creativity. And in fact, if you go to that website, you can see she's featured in a video and describing the experience and how fabulous it was for her. And I think, talking to her after the fact, she has shared with us that it's been a really transformative experience that's really kind of opened her eyes to all of the different things, all of the different possibilities that are out there. And so again, that Fulbright UK Institutes, you can apply as a first year or a second year. Unfortunately, the deadline for that's passed for this year, but you always have next year. And so if that's something of interest to you, definitely get that on your radar. As I mentioned, though, all of this stuff, all of these great opportunities to get paid research over the summer or go abroad or get graduate studies paid for, all of these things really are going to start with the experiences and skills that you're starting to build right now. And I know that it's really tough as first years to really think about, kind of that broad trajectory and where you want to go. And we are certainly not telling you you need to decide right now, exactly what you're going to do after you graduate. But we do want you to walk away knowing that the skills that you would build if you decided to pursue research this summer or at some point in the near future are really going to help set you apart when you're looking for industry positions or wanting to stay in academia. And it's also going to really benefit you in your coursework because research really allows you to get that hands-on one-on-one experience where you can really start to apply some of the things that you're learning in classes in real time. So, with that being said, we just wanted to highlight a couple of the mechanisms that we often use to support students when they get started in research or when they're continuing research. So, these are a list of programs that we administer in our office. And the first two that we have listed here are perfect if you don't have any research experience. And in fact, the Summer Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship, or SURA, which is the first one listed there in purple, Alex is going to talk to us about that more towards the end of this presentation, so I won't harp on it too much. But that one's a really great opportunity for you to get started in research within the next few months. So we'll save more details on that one for later. But it's a very accessible way to get started in research this summer. We also have the Highway to Undergraduate Research in the Academic Year, which has the acronym of HOORAY, which we love. And HOORAY is an opportunity for you to get started in research beginning at the start of your sophomore year. It helps students who have federal work-study funding, which would be part of your federal financial aid package if you qualify for it, get started in research by providing them with paid research positions with faculty who have opted into the program. So if you are federal work-study eligible and you're interested in HOORAY, you'll be getting an email from us during the summer. So keep an eye out for that. In terms of students who might already have some research experience under your belt, whether you've already started here at CMU, or maybe you did a lot of research in high school, we have some other options that you might consider. So the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship, or SURF, is a really exciting opportunity to apply for paid full-time research during the summer. You receive a $4,500 stipend to participate in research on campus for 8 to 10 weeks. And if you're thinking about that for this summer, unfortunately, you just missed the deadline that was just due this past Wednesday. But we'd love to have you think about that for future years, especially if you do SURA this summer. That leaves you wide open to do SURF next summer. And then finally, during the academic year and over the summer, we have what we call small undergraduate research grants or surge grants. And this is money that can help you support any needed supplies or equipment that you might need for your research. I know that those things can get so expensive depending on the types of hardware that you might need or might be experimenting with or troubleshooting. And so surge can sometimes be a really great way for you to get just a little bit of extra cash to support those questions that you are really trying to answer in the lab or in other research spaces. But we know that even before you start thinking about a program, oftentimes the biggest barrier to getting started in undergraduate research is just trying to find a faculty member. And we know we hear this probably the most out of anything that we hear when we're meeting with students is, it's kind of daunting and overwhelming to figure out how to find these faculty members who are willing to do research with you. And we get it. It can be really intimidating to cold email people. Um, Unfortunately, though, that's kind of the best way to do this. So what we recommend to you if you're interested in pursuing research, and we'll, turn it over to faculty from engineering here in a second to talk about their own experiences. But typically what you'll do is you'll start browsing faculty websites, faculty profiles based on your department of interest. So let's say you're interested in environmental and civil engineering. You'll go to the environmental and civil engineering faculty page where you get to see all of their smiling faces. You'll be able to click on their profiles and read their, list of, research interests, publications. Usually they'll have links to their personal research websites and other cool things that they might have going on. And so just browsing those pages is a really good way for you to familiarize yourself with the opportunities that are out there, the types of research that faculty are doing at Carnegie Mellon, and figure out who you might want to approach about research. One thing I do want to add to that, though, is that recently the libraries put together this really cool interdisciplinary search engine called Scholars at Carnegie Mellon University, and we actually have the website listed there. It is a really cool way for you to type in just a interest that you might have. So let's say you're interested in robotics research. You can type in robotics and, maybe mechanical engineering as well if you're trying to do some sort of interdisciplinary thing. And the search engine will show you a ton of different faculty whose research kind of intersects with those areas. And it could be faculty in engineering, but it could be faculty in CS, or it could be faculty in some other area, MCS, or wherever. And so that's a really neat way. If you're not quite sure where your specific research interests might lie in terms of specific departments, that's a great way to find faculty without sort of limiting yourself to one specific department. So definitely check that search engine out as well. But after you're able to kind of locate faculty that you're interested in pursuing research with, then it's typical that you would probably send those faculty an email. And that might be something that our faculty panel can touch on a little bit in a second. We know that that cold email process can be really kind of intimidating. And so we just want to make sure you know that our office actually offers support in that realm as well. So if you'd like to meet with us, we're really happy to talk with you more about the types of um, contents to put in those emails. But generally speaking, it's really important that those emails are personalized and catered to the specific faculty member that you are approaching, because they are going to want to see, that you're genuinely interested in their work and that you're not just sending a generic email asking about research opportunities. So, without further ado, I'm now going to turn it over to two fabulous engineering experts and faculty at Carnegie Mellon. The first is Dr. Conrad Zapanta, and the second is Dr. Nisha Shukla. And so I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about their experiences. They both have extensive experience being research mentors for a lot of our programs as well as outside of our programs. So I will go ahead and turn it over to them.
I guess I'll go first. I couldn't find the mic. Sorry. I'm Conrad Zapanta. I am the, as you see here, the teaching professor in biomedical engineering and also the associate dean for undergraduate studies in the College of Engineering. And Paige and Alex, we need to update the picture because I was a lot younger in that picture, significantly younger in that picture. Um, so I before I became the your associate dean, I was also the associate department head for biomedical engineering for 12 years, and I ran our undergraduate research program. So I think, one thing, and also I should throw in as well, as an alum, I was here at Carnegie Mellon in the late 80s, early 90s, and I actually did summer research. Um, Here as well too. So I've seen it from both the your end and also have seen it from the other end as well too. So I will pass it off to my colleague and then we can kind of diving into some other questions later.
Okay. Okay. So my name is Nisha Shukla, and uh, I I am special faculty. So I have two type of roles. One role is research, and my research lab is at and purely and truly undergraduate research lab in chemical engineering. And here we have students who work all by themselves. They start in freshman year and they complete in when they graduate. So they work all 4 years with me like a mini PhD in my lab. So it's slightly different lab, but it's a truly undergraduate lab. And the second thing that I do is with the dean's office under Professor Zipenda. I'm also an advisor for freshman students. So if you have any questions for me, and in addition, I'm also advisor for Society of Women Engineers, which is not truly associated with research, but that's also part of my job.
Thank you so much to both of you. So, I'm wondering if you could start by just telling us a little bit about what you look for, especially when, a first year or a second year student is approaching you. What are you looking for when they tell you they want to pursue research?
Nisha, do you want to start?
Yes, I can start. So, because my lab is like totally undergraduate, we don't have PhDs or master students or postdocs helping the undergraduate students. What I look for from the students is when they write to me, I definitely have it's not an interview, but I sit down and talk to them and tell them about the challenges of research and what the real thing that I'm looking for them is the motivation. Because research is almost like life. There will be ups and downs in life, and similarly, there'll be ups and downs in research. But what we have to do is persevere and keep doing it, and eventually, what we get out of it is a very happy moment. And that's what I try to find out from them if they are motivated, if they really want to do research or they just want to have a little experience in the research. I encourage both of them in my lab. If they're undecided, I still let them have a come and enjoy and see what they feel. And but the biggest thing I look for is motivation and if they have some commitment of time. I don't mind. They can be flexible. Generally, in research, all professors will be flexible. If you don't have time in the weekday, you can do it in the weekend. That is okay. So motivation and commitment of time.
And I will add to that, interest and maybe passion might be a strong word, but is the person really interested in the area that you're looking at and what that evidence? And that could actually just be, I'm interested in your work because of X, Y, or Z. And
Mhm.
don't fake it, make sure it's genuine as well.
Yes.
One thing we don't look for, and I want to point this out, especially with, a lot of first year students are concerned. I haven't taken many engineering classes, and that's the way it is because we just have the intro classes, the intro to engineering classes during your first year. Don't let that hold you back,
Mhm.
because I think the important thing, especially, when you're sitting in a physics class, perhaps, or a calculus class, you're trying to figure out when am I going to use this? Well, guess what? Research is a chance to actually use this. So don't be worried that you haven't taken engineering classes. That, as folks who work up with a lot of first year students, we know that. So don't be concerned about that, and don't let that hold you back. Don't let
Mhm.
it hold you back.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yes, thank you so much. I think that's a really important thing to emphasize. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's something we hear all the time in our office too. So fabulous. The two of you, could you talk a little bit more about the best ways for students to actually approach you? So we mentioned email. I don't know if you have any other additional ways that you like to hear from students.
Right. So I'll kick that off, and I kind of seen it from both ways. So, um, email is the most convenient from the student standpoint. Now, the catch is, will professors respond? And let's just be frank, sometimes they won't. So there's a little bit of being persistent. Of course, there is a line that you shouldn't cross that comes out to stalking. But I think, persistence is the key thing. One thing, and actually that does seem to help, is so I know there are some of my advisees on the call because I did recognize some names. What I recommend is, CC me, or perhaps CC your advisor in that email, and then that can be a little bit of a touch point. I will, but for instance, if a student comes in my office that I've tried to contact Professor so and so, they haven't responded, I'll say send one more email, CC me, and then as soon as that email is sent, I'll send something really quickly that says, "Thank you for your help. Any assistance you can provide would be appreciated." Just a little nudge sometimes is all it takes. So I think, now that being said, for all of you, do not CC me unless you're my advisee, but definitely all of you do have an undergrad advisor. And even honestly, when you go into your departments in the month, we declare majors and you'll have departmental advisors. CCing your advisor is always a helpful thing to do so we can give that nudge. Other strategies, office hours. So I have had some students. So perhaps, let's say um, Paige hadn't responded to your email yet, or you're interested in working in Paige's lab, but Paige had office hours for another class. Some students actually go to those office hours, and that's not a bad approach either. Some people say, we'll just go visit the professor in their office. These days, sometimes they're in their office, sometimes they're not. So you could always try that as well. But I think, really the carbon copy, the CC, tends to be a pretty effective approach, at least in my experience.
Yes, I totally agree with Conrad for all these different approaches. The one more thing that I do is I more often time for the freshman advisees, I tell them go to your advisor first and sit down and talk with them, or that's also very, very helpful. Tell them that you want to do research. So, say for example, in my case and Conrad's case, we know people whom you can contact immediately. And second thing is sometimes we also know the students of that group, and we say, okay, could you please go contact the student and then go look into the lab. And so that also works out in a good way as well, because it is right, because the professors sometimes will not be able to respond because they have too much teaching and research and traveling, and because of pandemic they might not be in their office all the time. So there may be a delay in response of their email, but their students will respond or you can talk to them. That's another way to do that. But that can be done through the advisor. If you do through the advisor, things are a little bit faster. But that is not just the only way. If you think you can write to the professor as well, sometimes they will respond and sometimes they may not respond because they think we don't know this person as well. That may be possibility. And sometimes not a work is there. And being a freshman student, it might be, yeah, they wait till you become in the summer, or if you say, for example, try to contact a professor in the first semester of the freshman year, that might be a little bit hard for you to get into research. But your advisor can help you out. So I think all these things, if you do, and of course, page groups as well. Page and can help too, how to contact with the professors. But the contact is the biggest thing, either through your advisor or through emails. Emails will be slightly slower. Advisors might be slightly faster. So those two are good ways to do it.
And that's a good, thank you, Nisha, for pointing that out. I think talking to your advisor is always a good thing. But then, we have been doing this a few years. We know which faculty may be more responsive than others.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as let's say you're interested in neuroengineering or something like that, you type that into the website and take a look. There could be 30 people that pop up, and that could just be overwhelming and scary. We can help you narrow down that list.
Yeah.
But it's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's so. For I give you an example, I'm not in robotics. I'm in chemical engineering. My research lab is in chemical engineering, but I know people on campus. Conrad knows people on campus, so I know in robotics, Professor Howie. He's a good friend.
Yep.
So I always say, do you need any freshman students this year? Is there a lab available for freshman student? And he say, yeah, I can have 2 more. So if somebody comes to me, say, okay, here we go. So this is also your advisor can help because we know a lot of people on campus.
Yeah, that's really fabulous advice. Thank you both so much. That's really important strategies for students to be thinking about to help make this easier because as was already said, it can be really overwhelming or intimidating. Students, feel free if you have any questions for our faculty panel, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. But in the interim, while we're waiting for any student questions, would the two of you talk a little bit now about some of the responsibilities that students should prepare for if they're about to embark on a new research project? So in your lab or what you've observed in other labs?
So I'll go and I'll start. So I think, one thing we talked about is to be interested in that area. So a lot of it will just be doing the first step is doing research on that area. And that typically means reading. So everyone and reading and interpreting literature. So everyone interpret an argument. If you didn't, we need to have a conversation, especially if I'm your advisor right now. And you need to be able to read and synthesize perhaps a large amount of information, but that's number one. Typically when I have my first meeting with my students, it'll be, we'll do some greetings, some ice break, but then honestly, here's some stuff to read. And I think just be ready, or then also go do some research on fill in the blank, so it's called a literature review. It's kind of the generic term for it, but typically for all the research we do, we're not starting it from scratch. It is based on someone else's work or work we've done previously. So there's that part of it. Lab meetings is another thing. Typically all these groups will have a lab meeting, typically once a week. For instance, there could be undergraduate students attending who do research, graduate students, either master's students or PhD students, and then the PI, that's another term for primary investigator, or the professor that is running the laboratory as well. There may also be someone known as postdocs or postdoctoral fellows. These are folks who already have earned their PhD either at CMU or in other institutions and have come to work almost considered to be like residency for med school, a chance to do additional training. Now, typically there might be a hierarchy as well too. So typically, it's been my experience, well, so some of my research, since my lab group is minuscule, if not, because I don't have an active artificial heart program anymore. Sorry, guys. But when I did have one, I would have grad students, and then the undergraduates would work directly with the grad students to help out their projects. So I think, there's going to be a little bit of think of it as almost like freshman orientation again, but for the lab, just getting used to the people, figuring out what to do, figuring out what you are interested in as well too, what kind of trainings. So there's a bit of I don't want to say dating, that's a bad term, but there's a little bit of just getting used to the group and figuring out what to do. And actually, along those lines, we haven't, let me veer off a little bit because we can, and the caffeine is kicking in big time right now. Sometimes you just need to figure out whether that lab's a good fit. So I think we never quite approached that. So let's say you actually do get hold of a professor, they'll say, come on in, let's have a chat and come to our lab group meeting. That is a chance to figure out, is the research really interesting? And also, are you a good fit for the lab? Because, labs they're like families to some degree, or any kind of club or organization. Sometimes it's a good fit, sometimes it's not a good fit. And, it's nothing's wrong with saying this lab doesn't interest me really. I thought it did, or the group may not be a good fit for me, socially, or, their culture. That's fine as well too, because as an advisor, I would rather you not do research in a area that doesn't interest you or in a lab that doesn't fit, rather than going through an experience that could be very frustrating for you. So thank you for letting me veer off on that page.
All those things were very good advice, Kurt, and this is very important. Lab is like a family. Research is like life. A lab is like a family. Sometimes you'll fit in, and sometimes you will not fit in. And it is not bad if you don't fit in. And if it is, and it's not good if you fit in. It's all good. It's all good. Bad is also good. Good is also good, because that's life. We all learn to get together. And the whole idea is we have a problem and we all collectively find a solution. That is the whole thing in research. So, but in my case, since my lab is truly undergraduate, we don't have PhDs or masters or postdocs to work with them. What happens is when the students come and start, they start with learning, reading some materials. They read with me, not with me in the sense in one-to-one reading, but I uh, give them some my past papers. They read, we discuss, and then I have a training period. So I have 6 weeks or 2 months, depending on the availability and the schedule of the student. You have a training period, and in that training, either I will train or we will take since I also work closely with material science, they will train, or even the students, your undergraduate students who have been in the lab for 1 year, say the sophomore, they will help you train as well. So you learn from each other, and that's what helps them as well in my lab.
And that's such a great experience, to be able to learn from other peers, basically,
Yes.
and really develop those bonds. I think that really supports the feeling of family.
Yes, yes. The other thing that I observed in my lab was that not only learning from the peers does matter, but what happens is, since there are 4 years, so the freshman student goes in and the senior guy's student is also there. He's saying, oh, if you take these courses or that courses, or let's do this, and or means there is a lot of a conversation of helping each other, and that helping is teaching them to be good leaders,
Yep.
because they become very good leader, that they are mentor right from the sophomore year, and they become good leaders. So when they go for a job, they can stand out and say, I lead a group. And I call them in a joking way, okay, when you're a sophomore helping the freshman, I said, okay, now you are the professor now for this person. And so I joke with them that, but that's a good thing.
Right. And I think, one thing, since just to build on that, sometimes after you've done the summer, let's say you did Sura this summer, this upcoming summer, and maybe you did the project, you like the lab and everything, but maybe at the end, that's just an area you discover that doesn't interest you. It's fine to switch to another lab. People have done it.
Yes.
Again, don't stay in a lab just because you think you have to stay in the lab. If the work does not interest you, go to another lab, and that's perfectly fine. And it happens. I've done many research projects where I did nothing, done nothing with it since then. So I actually am thinking of my summer research. What was it? It was at Allegheny General Hospital. It was exactly so. The fact that I can't remember it should tell you something right now. It was testing thermocouples, which, by the way, are things that measure temperature in the presence of a ultrasonic field. That's right now. So the big clinical aspect was when tumors get treated with any kind of chemotherapy, the idea back then was to heat the tumor using ultrasound to increase the vasculature, to basically get more blood supply. The idea then is that the chemo that it travels in the blood would be able to perfuse the tumor and the tissue better, delivering more chemotherapy. And then the problem was that if you stick a temperature probe in the presence of ultrasound, that heats up faster than the surrounding tissue. So you want to make sure that you're actually getting accurate temperature readings. Okay, that's a flashback right there. But have I done anything since that with that? No. I pretty much decided after that summer, yeah, interesting area. Don't want to go in that area of biomedical engineering. So, and that's fine. And that's fine. And the fact that I actually remember that was just startling right now. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember what I did in research for 1990. So
Memory is a weird thing. It's a
yes,
weird,
it
weird
is.
thing.
I do remember though that just if you guys ever watched Groundhog Day, like the original Bill Murray, you can see very carefully my lab. If you freeze the picture, I can point to you which window it was in the picture of Allegheny General Hospital. So go ahead and YouTube it, guys.
That's awesome. How cool. See, you can even get onto a movie potentially if you
Very
get
small
involved in
part.
research. No, these are great points though. And sometimes students do discover that like research isn't for them or a particular area isn't for them. And we always say, that's a win. Like that's
Right.
part of what our office strives to help students do. And I think part of what your faculty strive to do as well is to help you figure out where your niche is and where your passion is and your interests. So anything is great.
Yeah. Sorry, Paige. I did have one more thought I forgot to put in as well. So thank you for letting me jump back in.
Yeah.
Some people will think, well, I don't want to go to grad school. I don't need to do research. And the answer is no. I think, really, if you're looking for a job in industry, seeing that you've done research also helps us well too. Now, I think Nisha and I would agree with me. In our ideal
Yes.
worlds, you have two experiences, one in research in the lab, and two, some kind of internship. And neither are mutually exclusive. I think it's good to one thing, see how lab research is done, but then really internships in a company are also a way of applying what you've learned in your classes. Now, you'll also realize is that academic research, as we've described it here, is not what happens in industry sometimes. So it's important to get really that understanding of how things work in both areas.
Yeah. So I will add to Conrad's thoughts that it is true, but even if you don't want to do PhD or master's, research, undergraduate research is very important because it teaches you to work with deadlines. It teaches you how to solve a problem which nobody knows, even your advisor does not know, because that's the whole idea of research. Nobody knows the answer. There's a problem, and we all collectively try to find the solution. So when you go to industry and work there, it is exactly the same thing. There is a problem, and you have to solve it, and you know how to solve it because you have research experience and you know how to stick to the deadlines, and do not get disheartened if it doesn't work out. You still keep doing it, working hard towards it, and you don't feel disappointed. So the research helps you and trains you already for your future job. It really, and when you go for an interview, how do you stand out by saying to your employer, how are you better than the others? Well, I did research and I was a group leader, or I was doing this, and this was my problem, and here is the solution. And in addition, if you have done a publication and if you have a patent, you are way ahead of all the other students, because even sometimes we do an internship, we make some money, but we don't become rich in that internship. But if you have a publication staying at CMU, that will definitely give you a high paid job. So please don't feel shy. Even if you don't want to go for a PhD, try research. Definitely do it if you can. If you have a passion, do it.
Yes, absolutely. These are such great points, and thank you both so much. Um, any other thoughts before we move on to talk a little bit more about the details of Sura and how all of the students who are listening right now can actually get involved in research this summer? Do you all have any other thoughts that you'd like to share before we move on about what faculty are looking for in undergraduate research assistants, or any other thoughts on the topic?
I think I've talked out.
Oh my God.
Which doesn't happen, Paige. You know me
So
well
there
enough.
is some question. One person wants to know, is interested in robotic research, and if there is actually freshman opportunities available for. Yes, Jason, yes, there are opportunities available for freshman students. You can contact me or write to the professors in robotics. Yes, there are. I have several of my advisees who have gone to robotics as a freshman students for research. And I think probably they stayed on for a long time until they graduated.
And our office also has a list of robotics professors who have worked
Yes.
with students in the past in our programming, and we'd be happy to help with that as well if you want to sign up for a one-on-one advising appointment. So, as Dr. Shukla said, lots and lots of different support all around to try to help you get involved. So just reach out. Thank you for that question. All right, well, I want to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to Dr. Zapanta and Dr. Shukla for being here. You both have so much valuable experience, and just we really appreciate you sharing it and these really, really important insights. So thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're
You're welcome.
All right, and so now I'm going to turn it over to Alex from the Office of Undergraduate Research and Scholar Development to talk to us a little bit more about the Summer Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship.
Yeah, thanks, Paige. So I'm just going to go through some of the details of the program and like what the enrollment process for this looks like and stuff. I think given you're all first years, this is like a great option for you to get a little bit of research experience, get introduced to it, and see if it's something that want to take further and pursue in future years and things like that. So SURA stands for Summer Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship. The idea behind this program is it's meant to be really entry level. It's meant to make research as accessible and easy to get started in as possible for you guys. It happens over the summer and you get academic credit for it. So you can enroll in 3, 6, 9, or 12 units, and it's all tuition free. You're not like paying for a class, so that's nice to know. You do get a letter grade for Sura, and that's kind of determined just based on like, do you do the amount of hours you sign up for? Do you do the assignments, things like that? So yeah, it's meant to be pretty flexible. If you were to enroll in like 3 units, you would maybe be doing, I think it's like 45 hours total, so it would shake out to like 4 to 6 hours a week for the course of the summer. Whereas if you do the 12 units, I think that's 180 hours, so it would be like 18 hours a week-ish, closer to more like a part-time job type of situation. You can do a Sura remotely also. So depending on the research that you're doing, if it's like computer-based work or something like that, there's no reason you have to be on campus in Pittsburgh. And all of the programming for Sura happens on Canvas, asynchronously. So it's really flexible in that regard as well. And we've had people participate in Sura from like all over the world in the past, which is pretty cool. So requirements to enroll, like we said, it's meant to be really entry level. So we want you to have very little to no previous research experience. It's fine if you have experience from high school, but we're looking for, very little like college level research experience. And as we've been talking about, you do need to find a faculty mentor who's gonna kind of advise you over the course of the summer, help you make progress on the research, make sure you're on track, things like that. So that's really the biggest, I think, hurdle to getting into this program is just doing that initial step of contacting professors, talking with them about what you want to do, and finding somebody who's going to be your faculty mentor over the summer. You also can totally work with postdocs or grad students as well. So it does not have to be somebody who's, like formally a professor. It can be somebody who's working on their PhD or something too. So that opens up your options a little bit. The actual process to enroll in Sura is, I think, pretty seamless. There's an online form that you'll fill out. You put in your information and then the information of your faculty mentor, and it will sort of automatically get routed through our system for them to sign and approve, and then for us to see. So it's pretty easy to submit that, and that's all available on our website. The actual requirements for the program are you're going to agree to a certain amount of research hours over the course of the summer. So you want to make sure you do the amount of hours you commit to. And then we also have some workshops, and those are, on topics like research design, proposal development, things like that. And you work with all the other students who are doing Sura, so you get to see research in all sorts of different fields. Those take place, I believe, through like June and into maybe like the first week of July-ish. And so during those like weeks, you'll be doing discussion boards and things like that and engaging with your peers in Sura. But outside of those assignments, the rest of the summer is kind of yours to do the research at your own pace. I also think it's a pretty interesting experience to work on those assignments and participate in those little discussions and stuff like that. We will intentionally put you guys into small groups with people who are in majors totally different from your own. So you might be in a group with a history major or an artist, or somebody who's doing like pure math or something like that. So you get to see research in all sorts of different fields and do some really cool like cross-disciplinary discussion. So the registration form for Sura is going to be on our website. I don't think it's there yet, but it will be available in March, like mid-March, I think. And then you have until May 20th to fill that out and submit it. So you can really use the rest of the spring semester to look around for different opportunities, talk to different professors, things like that, and then get that form submitted in May. And that's really the only step you have to take in order to do the program. Anything you would add, Paige, or like, oh, sorry, just want to make sure I covered my bases in terms of like details.
I think you did fabulous. I think you really covered all the important bits. I guess the only thing I would add is, all of this too, obviously your agency and your decision matters, but all of this as well is going to be sort of up to you and your faculty mentor to decide. So whether or not your research is in person or remote, that's going to be the two of you deciding together. How many units you enroll in, that'll be the two of you deciding together. So just making sure that you also take into account that sort of negotiation process and the importance of communication in sort of laying the foundation for what your plans will be with Sura this summer.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and thank you for mentioning that. I think if you're interested in doing Sura as you're reaching out to professors, during the semester and things like that, you should mention it and sort of set up that expectation. And then, if you guys like set up a meeting to talk more or whatever, you can sort of lay out all of the expectations and stuff like that. Yeah, Conrad, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I figure I should be polite. So depending on the program, and I'll be very clear on this, depending on your major, research you conduct under Sura may, and the keyword is may, count toward your graduation requirements. It is dependent on the major. Talk to the advisor there, but that's just something to kind of throw that in there as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Definitely something to be aware of and talk to your advisor about. Cool. So I think, yeah, what to sort of leave off on like a little bit of an inspiration kind of note. We have a testimonial from somebody who participated in Sura in 2022 from CIT. So Malika did research with Professor Tilton, and I did look up a little bit about her research. I'm very much not an engineer or chemist in any way, but she was working with polymers and surfactants and doing some work about like adhesion of these things. So she got some really great like wet lab experience, which is super cool and great to have that on your resume. And you can hear it from her directly. So Malika says it was a really good experience. It was different from working in classroom labs. There was a lot of critical thinking and problem solving required. So yeah, that's I think sort of what we've been saying this whole session is that doing research is really an opportunity to take the lead on addressing some problems and diving into a topic and things like that. And it will get you some really great experience that will translate to pretty much anything you do in the future, whether it's research, internships, classwork, or some other type of job or something like that. So here is our contact info. We've got our website up there. We've got our social media up there. And then this QR code will take you to a Google form that you can fill out if you're looking to schedule a one-on-one appointment with one of us. So you just need to put your information in there. And then in a day or two, you'll get an email from me that's just like, thanks for reaching out. And I'll give you the links to sign up for an appointment with, one of our advisors, either me or Paige or Rochelle. So feel free to fill that out if you'd like to meet with us and talk about your interests more specifically. We'd be happy to do that. Thank you all for being here and for listening. And I think we can kind of like open things up to questions at this point. Feel free to unmute and, jump in or drop a question in the chat.